Oh, look at your
How are you
lovely
doing?
setup. I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. I'm on a high because we had a concert last night in LA at the UCLA Rose Hall.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and Amazon very sweetly got Saltburn, the deadline wanted Saltburn to be in it. And Amazon were very supportive and agreed. And it was great. It was really fun.
So how did you do it
Um,
then? Was it kind of like full, yeah, was it a like section? Yeah, how did it work?
Yeah, I put a suite together of just like a few of the cues, and then we put the picture behind it, and I conducted, which was really fun. And then
Oh,
they
amazing.
had like they had some score stuff, some songs as well. They had like Mark Ronson. They did I'm Just Ken from Barbie.
Oh, great.
They had American Fiction, which was great. They
Oh, wow.
had Killers of the Flower Moon
Mm.
scored. They had who else did they have?
Oh, God, I wish I'd been there. Come and do one in
Yeah, it was
London.
fun. I mean, hey, your boots on the ground. You tell me.
Okay, yeah.
Um,
Let's get that Royal Festival Hall. That would be amazing.
oh
Oh my
hell yeah!
God.
No, it would.
Yeah.
It was really nice to do. Of course, like the rehearsal was a bit stressful because like the clicks weren't working for the musicians, and you're like,
Yeah.
and then I was conducting, and I was like, oh my god, what's happening? And then of course, it's like a classic. It's all right on the night situation.
Oh. Well, it's so great
And
to
it,
have you on. It's so great to get you on and sort of and we had that crazy Q&A about when was that? I was like,
like 5 weeks ago, I want to say
wow.
something like that. It's been a blur. The last month has been really fun.
Yeah. The we were really lucky actually because on Friday um we managed to get a preview of the film and show it as our first Soundtracking Everyman Film Club. And Emerald came after, and we did a really, really funny, brilliant in conversation after the film. And it was really great actually because those Q&As that I love doing, but they are certain, the audience is a certain type, they're in the industry, so there's a very different atmosphere, I think, anyway, when you do it in a room full of film fans, genuine, that aren't part of the industry, that come at it with a slightly different angle or interest or whatever. And so even before the film
Totally.
started, the energy was amazing in the room. And then
Oh,
Emerald just fed off that, afterwards. It was just glorious. It was delicious. Yeah.
yeah, you're so right. Like it's just ever so slightly stiff in with industry people, just because everyone's yeah, it's
Yeah.
just a different
Yeah.
vibe. I was
Yeah.
in about 2 weeks ago. I was in um, it's like where in the world is Emerald right now? Because the poor
I
woman is
think
just
she's
everywhere.
not that I'm stalking her,
She's in
but I
New
think
York.
she's
She's
in
in
New
New York.
York on her way to LA, I believe. Yeah.
She is. Yeah, she is. But she was in Savannah 2 weeks ago, and I was there too because I was very lucky to be honored with an artisan award, and so I went out there, and so I went to her screening there,
Yeah.
and the kids at SCAD, which is who organized the festival, went absolutely mad. Like, and Clayton Davis from Variety was moderating the panel with Emerald, but we'd all had dinner before him because he knew I was in the audience, and he was like, "Oh, and we've got a troublemaker in the audience," and he might have honestly, he might as well have said like squash banana, and they still would have just gone like, "Yes!" And then I came back to LA and did like a smaller one. I can't remember what it was, a smaller screening, and it was just
Yeah.
very like soberingly low energy, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
back to reality.
Yeah.
That
Uh,
that frenzy is like amazing.
It's a week away from being released to the public. It's so exciting. As we talk anyway. I've seen it 3 times, and it's like the gift that keeps on giving, Saltburn, because every time you see it, I mean, it's so rich with with everybody's creativity, across the board. So this thing is just kind of, it's so rich in storytelling, that I think almost every time you see it, you get more, and you see more and discover more, you feel more, you hear more. So yeah, I encourage people to see it multiple times just to kind of yeah, it's like going back for seconds and thirds at the best dinner party ever.
Yeah, or the worst lunch ever.
How
Like the
did
worst.
it before we get into it though, how did you, because obviously Promising Young Women you worked on with Emerald prior to this, again
Mhm.
congratulations on that, but how did you guys meet? How did this kind of, you know, kind of collaboration between the two of you start?
I knew Emerald through some friends when she was living in LA, but not well, but I think she was aware of what I was doing, and she knew that I'd worked like a lot in kind of more classic film scores with themes.
Mm-hmm.
So when she was looking for a composer of Promising Young Women, I ran into her at a friend's barbecue, and she said, I wanted to talk to you about my film. And my immediate reaction was, well, I'm probably not the right person for this, but let me help you. Like I would any friend, anyone I
Yeah.
knew, like who needs connecting with somebody. So I connected her to my agent, and I said, who can you help Emerald out with? And I think, she went around the houses looking for lots of people, but she also very sweetly asked me to write something. And I think in the back of our mind, she just wanted. It was like an exercise in what would somebody like Anthony do with this film? And
Yeah.
like, let's see if we can learn something from that. And that's just how it started. It was like, where does that,
Hmm.
yeah, what would that be? And my whole mission was like, if I can help her just learn something about the film, whether I'm on the film or not, like, wonderful, job done. And I wrote a theme for Nina, who was Carey Mulligan's
How's
friend,
Concord? Yeah.
who's not in the film,
Yeah.
but Emerald wanted, and the studio really wanted to feel their presence. and
That's
that
amazing.
was and then she really liked it, and then that was it. And um you know and then obviously with Saltburn, I think, she had even more ambition for the score, and I think it is a score that people will. It's more present perhaps than the Promising One. There's more. I mean, there's some nice
Oh, it's
moments in
great.
Promising too, but it's like, and the sound team did an awesome job really featuring the score, and Emerald too, like very much leading that. So yeah, and that's how it
I want to know
how it was.
I want to know how she described Saltburn to you when she sort of, when you had that first conversation about it. What was her kind of like pitch to you about what the film was going to be? Or did she just send you a script, or how did it?
You sent me the script.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to say spoilers?
Yeah.
Probably not, right?
Yeah, it's going out. This is going out the Monday after release, and we'll put in the episode as well that there's spoilers. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So she sent me the script, and I think the first, it's obviously like it was one of those things where you knew you were going to get sent the script, and then it doesn't come, and then you follow up with someone because everything else in your life when you're dealing with an Emerald script is just like completely irrelevant. So I remember I followed up with Lucky Chap, or because it has to go through a whole security thing. So
Yeah.
it's a thing to send somebody a script like that. And then I got it, and then it's kind of like, obviously you want to text someone right away. Oh, I'm reading it, and you're like, oh, God, hold on, like, don't annoy her too much. But then obviously when it got to the bath plug, I was just like, you wicked. I just like, oh my
Yeah.
God. And I mean, the first time she'd actually told me about the movie, she sent me such a sweet text, something like, I'm writing my next film. I'm listening to the Promising Young Woman soundtrack. Can't wait to see what you're going to do. Um,
Oh.
and and then I think she said something like, it has to be so sexy and disgusting and gothic. And then anyway, so I was reading the script, and that was the first text I sent her was, oh my God, the bath plug. And then the big reveals. I mean, I won't go into too much detail because people should see it. But the big
Yeah.
reveals, like there's a few of them, and those I just love. And then really the kind of the first musical discussions were, the world of Saltburn. What is that? And
Mm.
Emerald loves organ, and she's like, "There's not enough scores, Anthony. There's not enough scores with organ. We need organ. It's the best instrument." And that was the kind of starting point. And obviously there's a beautiful beautiful, beautiful version of Lord of All Hopefulness, which I sang as a choir boy. I was a chorister in Windsor.
Where are you?
I was, when I was 9 years old. So for me, like that, this was really fun for me in a way, getting to touch just slightly on that kind of English choral music. And there's a beautiful version of Lord of All Hopefulness in the film during a moment with the grave, and
That's
and then
amazing.
Emerald really, I think actually, I'm probably allowed to say this. There was a version of the film where she put Jerusalem at the end,
She put, say
just to
that again.
really kind of,
There
oh,
was an
Jerusalem.
oh wow. Oh,
Yeah,
in the Sophie Ellis Bextor scene.
it was, no, no, it was after that. It was after that. It
Okay,
was
yeah,
like a
okay.
little after that.
Yeah, okay.
But I think, I think I'm allowed to say that. But I think it was to really like land the kind of Brexit Britain, the Englishness of it all.
Yeah.
But so that was always at the back of the conversation, was like, how can we make things feel a little bit like a hymn? And then Emerald also loved the idea of the film starting with Zadok the priest, but there's that beautiful narration of Oliver at the opening
Yeah.
of the movie. He, and that incredible photography of Jacob Elordi as Felix, and it's so nostalgic. And I think Emerald and I were both thinking, well, there's an opportunity here to do something that's more custom for our film, and actually introduce the style of the score a little bit in more of a romantic, because then it was really about the love story. How
Yeah.
can we
Those
how
moments.
can we
Oh, like when they sort of become friends for that first time, and then the bridge scene, the score on that, it's like the most, it's like a Julia Roberts film. You know what I mean, in terms of like
yeah.
it's just that, it's just that, you feel like you're so excited for the start of this romance kind of thing. And it's so perfect, but it's also so clever, because it kind of puts you into a false sense of security, almost, in a way, in terms of where the film goes. It's brilliant.
Oh, thank you. I mean, the idea is obviously the score is kind of a vapor that's showing you what, at any given moment, what you're supposed to think of Oliver's experience.
Mm.
Like, so much of it was about managing that. So this is Oliver's journey. It's Oliver's big this summer that changed his life. But we're also, what Emerald is playing with the audience,
Mm.
and really, it's all kind of laying the pipe for that final act. But yeah, I had that arpeggio that said da 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 da, and that was really useful because it's classical, and but it's also kind of those kind of languages, you use them a lot when like somebody's being calculating.
Yeah.
There's a kind of math to it, which obviously at the end it sounds quite mathy, or the kind of fast pace of it. Um, and then, but also, you can do it really slowly, more like a pop, a traditional pop kind of piano, like when they have the breakup in the maze. It's
Yeah.
really slow and kind of heartfelt and sad. So it was a way of being something that's subliminally there throughout Oliver's journey. And we could put it through, when he's really lonely, and then it's on the organ.
Mm.
And then when he's making friends with Felix for the first time in that awesome pub montage. I did more of a, like, Emerald originally wanted a song there, but Victoria, the editor, brilliantly cut the sequence together that had much more dialogue in it, so they couldn't quite use a song.
Mm-hmm.
They tried lots of things. And someone says, "Can you do a score piece, but something that evokes the kind of music, like, I suppose it's like a slightly soft Coldplay or Radiohead kind of mashup where
Mm-hmm.
it's driving through that sequence, but also the strings do the kind of arpeggios, but it's a slightly more of a contemporary treatment to it." So that was the recurring idea that just goes through lots and lots of places.
I mean, you could have gone to town on, just in terms of these fantastic characters that she's written, even like those smaller parts, like Carrie's part, poor Pamela, and it's kind of like, they all could almost have their own suites, that it could almost be a silent movie, weirdly, in a way, in terms of, just because the performances, well, not a silent music, because the script is brilliant, but there's just, they could all have their own kind of theme tunes, almost, in a way, because they are so brilliantly written, brilliantly performed, sort of thing, as well. I guess it's kind of like, when you're starting to think about how much music you're writing for it, but also you got to take into consideration as well, like the needle drops and then the contemporary pieces that are being used as well. But the way that it's navigated, your score's navigated throughout the film, is just so brilliant. In the way that it kind of has this relationship with both those things, but with the character and with the narrative. I mean, how did you know how much music you would need, and how much you could go into all those different characters and those relationships with the music that you were writing?
I think Emerald was really like, she has such an amazing sense for everything. Such a intuitive instinct for what she wants.
Yeah.
And she knew there's some interesting things on this one where, like, it's become a tradition that score kind of bleeds into the next scene. So,
Mhm.
you have a cue, it's rolling away, and then it starts to finish, and then come, sort of leak into the next scene as a way of kind of actually pushing you forward a bit. But it's a bit of a convention. And so, I did that for a few cues, and everyone was like, no, 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 it has to be out completely for the next day. And it's a stylistic thing that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Similar to there's so many things about this film that have, a really custom style, like the aspect ratio, the photography,
Yeah.
and these little things. And it's subliminal, but it all really adds up. So Emerald had a very precise instinct of where to use music. I mean, I wish I could take credit for Carey Mulligan's dinner scene, but I come in right at the end just to reflect on Oliver sort of realizing, hang on, this family, like, realizing his own vulnerability at the house. You know
Back to Oliver.
that Yeah, it's back to Oliver, exactly. But Kerry, I mean, that scene at dinner, it's
Oh.
just the perform. I mean, Rosamund and Richard's perform. I
Oh.
mean, I could watch that on loop, and I think I'd just be laughing my whole life.
Yeah. I mean, I
It's-
almost want a prequel. I want a Rosamund and Richard prequel.
yes. Oh my gosh, that would be so good. That would be so good. I know. Maybe they meet Pamela for the first time.
Yeah.
Maybe Pamela's actually like a little bit more like set at that moment. Like maybe Pamela has a bit more leverage.
Yeah. Or what, like Rosamund's like pregnant, or like when she's just had a child, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Oh
kind
my
of.
gosh.
Yeah. I mean, the
Her
casting is
perform I
so
mean,
great.
yeah, it's a full house. It's just so great.
Did you
But I
would
mean, in terms
go on? Sorry, got
oh,
so
I
many
was just gonna say,
questions. Sorry, go on.
in terms of linking the score into the world of 2006,
Yeah.
the thing that Emerald really liked about that kind of music, is the tendency for, like, those kind of back pulsing synths, that where the filter opens on the synth and it throbs. And in a lot of the party, those awesome, the awesome track Perfect Exceeder and Loneliness, really have that. So she's like, how can we take that and sort of distill it into the score in it, but still in the language of our score.
Mm-hmm.
And what I what the house always reminded me of, and when Oliver's walking along the creaky floor to the bathroom, is that, like, even when you're in a big house like that, if someone's playing like music really loud, like downstairs, it's obviously muffled, but you can still kind of hear it, and you can
Mm-hmm.
feel the afterglow of, like, the night's over. You know, um, Oliver's upstairs, and, like, he's followed Felix up there, but downstairs maybe, like, people are still enjoying themselves, and so it's this idea of, like, the afterglow of a party kind of leaking through the floorboards, but it's so.
Nice.
So we took the idea of a throb, but instead of doing it with a synth, there is a bit of synth that supplements it too, to kind of get it a little more filthy. But the primary color you hear is actually an organ. Because we're using organ for Saltburn, like the Saltburn Arrival, in a very kind of gothic, I think everyone was like, let's make it like Jurassic Park, like Batman. So, but it's a very gothic kind of big, rich sound, and organ plus strings is a hell of a noise. And so I really like the idea of threading that color. And we recorded it at Temple Church in London, which was really, really great to do, and actually a real privilege to get in there, because they're not necessarily just like, yes, we can't wait to get films to record. They very much have their own, their own thing. They have concerts there, they have important worship there, and all that stuff.
Is that not where Hans did Interstellar?
It is. This is very same.
Yes.
Good knowledge.
Yes.
I was testing you.
Oh, I mean, that's one of my favorite scores of all time, that score. I mean, big fan of the organ. It's just, there's something about it.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just all encompassing. It's just like, it literally just kind of hovers over you. You're like, okay, it's so great.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, the way Hans uses it in that film is brilliant. I mean, and I think the similarity with Interstellar is that it has such a human quality, because it's using so much wind, and that really played well for us with this throb, or even like the soulfulness one of the first cues in the film is when Oliver's sort of lonely at Oxford, and it's just a very plaintive sound as somebody who's sitting in this library and he's got like almost no friends, and there's a soulful human quality to it, and then that comes back at other moments in the score too, and then it can be huge. But then when you just record it low, and then I put it through a dance plugin, an LFO plugin, which basically gives it that like shape, and then so as the filter opens, you kind of hear the breathiness. So it has a slightly, what we like to think it has a slightly lustful quality. Anyway, so these things are like, I think they matter. I really do. I think it matters that it's custom, that
it's part of the storytelling. Like it's part of the, it's kind of, it's almost like an additional kind of, not limb to the character, but kind of, it's almost like a bit like an internalization, almost, in a way. He's like, you talk about that kind of breathy kind of lust sort of thing, and it is that kind of thing in his head of kind of, his almost like fantasy, almost, in a way.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like coming through the floorboard, so it's much slower, and that's used quite a few times throughout the film, the score. And so that was an important thing, but it's connected to the psychology of the way that the songs are used, and that like it's sexed up and souped up, like there's full party tracks, and then it's sort of distilling the psychology of that down to the idea of like just a guy kind of stalking somebody in the path.
Yeah. So, when you were talking about him being lonely in the library, it just made me think of the Michael Garvey character, Ewan Mitchell, it plays him. Oh my god! I mean, just this very small part, but God, he's so memorable. He's just like, ask me a sum. It's just, he's so creepy. The way he eats the crunchy, with biting the chocolate off. It's terrifying. He's so scary.
It's masterful. Oh, it's masterful. And then like the little climbing carabiner that when he sees Oliver later, like the little it's just the touches, the detail. Emerald's sense of detail, as you said, at the beginning of our chat, like how it's such a treasure trove, the film, to like dive into, and you'll find there's so many details. And Promising Young Woman is similar. There's a lot of details, but I think this goes even further because it's a huge house, so it has all these mysteries and secrets.
And when you read the script, did that kind of, was that your, in terms of, I don't know, did you write straight away, or did you, because I mean, we're talking quite a lot about performances and the casting of this in particular, and Emerald said that seeing Barry in The Killing of a Sacred Deer, it was like, he's exactly what he's the man for me, sort of thing, for this role, sort of thing. And it's that, as much as you can hope and dream for the performance that you're going to get out of someone until you're on set and you're playing and you're shooting it and you're trying different things and you're reacting to things as well. You don't really know. I mean, that performance is like, it's so hard to describe apart from it being just bloody amazing. But were you privy to performances and what they were shooting, and did you react to that at all? Or what was the kind of journey of things whilst they were shooting it and stuff as well? Because it's so interesting for me when I hear how different composers work and how it might be purely that they play off script, they create off of being on set, they create off a cut. It's so different for everyone, and also I guess the restraints of the film and schedule and all that kind of stuff. But what was the kind of the journey for you with this from that script point?
I mean, the script is so evocative and so vivid. I think the thing with Emerald is that she has such a unique way of even looking at the work that she's made. You read the script and you fall in love with it. But then you sort of talk to her and then you go, oh my gosh, it's even more than I realized. Just because once all the pieces kind of come together. So, for example, what we were going to show of Oliver and his motivations at any given moment, it might have been from the script that there was a chance to really like make him more nefarious right away.
Mm-hmm.
These things only kind of come with conversation, because it's such a distinct, special journey psychologically that you're taking the audience on. And Emerald as the manager of that psychological experience. I also think like seeing the film for the first time finished with the performances and the characterization is such a special thing that you don't really get back. I think if you bring too much stuff to it before and then try and make it fit, it can work. It can be amazing, but also I think you slightly blur your vision potentially. I think that I'd really like to do it more where I write loads of stuff early. I mean, one of the things I did do early was start to experiment with how we could darken Zadok as an idea and how we could make it more subversive. So I did do that. Was one of the first things I did before the film. Well, actually, while the film was being shot, I did do that, and that was fun to do. And then I was able to come back to it, but I had no idea the way that opening sequence was going to look. I mean, with the beautiful the romance of it, I didn't know that. I wish I could return to the way that the film lived in my head from the script, but obviously it becomes so much more vivid with the performances and the cinematography, and then it's like kind of roll up your sleeves and go, well, what does the score need to accomplish within this? It's a tricky one. Most of the composers I've worked with, on my kind of as I was kind of building my career, do definitely prefer to hold on to that ability to react to it once it's been edited. And Emerald Rosefield invited me to see it I think it was in December last year. That was the first time I saw it.
What did you think?
And
what was your reaction? What was your
Oh my gosh.
expectation?
I think it's best not to have I mean, I think that's true of most movies.
Yeah.
Like the old days of you just maybe catch the trailer and then you go and see it. That's the best way to experience it, and definitely in a movie theater. As I mentioned, I really have to applaud everyone on my music team who did such a great job. My assistant and orchestrator Brett Bailey, score mixer Nick Willage, and then the Pinewood sound mixers and the re-recording mix Shrivana, who they just really embrace the score. I think there's a stigma with scores where people go, oh, the mix isn't right. I didn't get, or listen to the soundtrack and it's like, no. I wish the soundtrack represented you can't get the experience from listening to the soundtrack that you can of going to the movie and seeing it in a theater. There's just no way. It's a totally different thing. and they really represented me well. And it was mixed at Pinewood and just outside London,
Nice.
and they really embraced it and really did a lovely job. So I'm so grateful for them.
Before I run out of time, two things I wanted to just talk about, which was you were talking there about Zadok the priest. You re-recorded that, didn't you? And you sort of you kind of play. Is that, am I right in thinking it's kind of you sort of played with it and there was a slight kind of manipulation with a few things with it, or did I get that wrong from something
No,
I
no,
read?
that's right. So the front is completely different. It's not technically part of the original score in terms of the way it's been submitted and all that. The score
Yeah.
is the same thing, but it's a the intro is it was kind of, the idea was like how Max Richter did the Four Seasons.
Hmm.
And some of it, if you listen to his album, some of it is like verbatim the Four Seasons, and some of it is this really interesting kind of more contemporary extraction of like a style. It's like a stylistic, it's
Like
like
an
a stylistic
interpretation.
impression. Yeah,
Like
but
an
it's
it's like
really in my opinion, it's really a different thing, and but then the challenge is for it to evolve into it. I mean, it uses an arpeggio, it uses the rising arpeggio, basically.
yeah.
That's the similarity, and then it gradually becomes. We were trying to do something a bit like Toxic, where it's what I call the Trojan horse, where you feed something. Obviously, Zadok the Priest isn't as well known as Toxic,
I
but
don't know.
you
Depends what generation you speak to.
depends where you are. Yeah, if you're a choir boy like me. Um, the idea being you start a piece of music and then people go, okay, oh, this is nice. Oh, what's this? And then you get the sensation of like, is this? Oh, wait,
Yeah.
is it going to be? No, it's different. Oh, and then you get there, and that was the idea with that. But also, it all had to fit the changes in the scene and the dialogue, but also sound like a piece that existed anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really, it was hard to do, but really fun. And and it was more romantic and gothic, like at the starting point, like when he, it starts on Emerald's name and then he opens the lighter, and it's more akin to the kind of gothic film that Emerald was really trying to parody
Yeah.
in that opening, or I shouldn't say parody, I should say the
Yeah.
satire of it.
Yeah.
And so it was just an opportunity to basically do, have your cake and eat it. We go into Zadok once he actually arrives in Oxford, but the opening gives you that more broody, romantic longing
Mm.
that was important to establish, and I think the original just didn't establish the longing. And that's the thing. It's like when he's reflecting on Felix and what he felt about him, I think that longing is so important to establish right away. And
Yeah.
that was the big thing with that.
When you saw it for the first time with that final scene with Barry, with Sophie Ellis Bextor, murder on the dance floor. What was, I mean, it's just, I said to Emerald the other night, I just love those scenes in films that are musically, that tell you, that are such a kind of window into the character just through music and performance. So Le Beau Travail, the Claire Denis film, which uses Rhythm of the Night at the end, which is just
Mm-hmm.
the most amazing. This kind of guy that it's a completely different character, but I just think that she's done something so brilliant with that end scene. The choice of music so great. The work that Barry's done with Polly Bennett in terms of his movement and things like that. It's just bloody brilliant. What was your reaction when you saw that for the first time?
I think it does that thing that is so special and hard to achieve, which is it's given that song an entirely new meaning. And the
Yes.
song, equally, the song has also given the film something. Like
Mm-hmm.
are, um, they both very much like feed off each other. But it's like I think it's, I mean, obviously like the visual, the way that that sequence is shot and the way that it's in reverse,
Yeah, of
the
that
tour
journey in. Yeah.
when he's shown through and Jacob Elordi shows him the house and it's in reverse, it's so clever in itself and there's beautiful rooms. I'm not going to comment on Barry myself, but I mean he's incredible. I mean
Oh,
that's all I'm going to say.
yeah.
But the track is awesome and like and obviously lyrically it's brilliant. It's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that Emerald was saying actually it was quite hard to shoot because you know not to mention all the lighting being right throughout the whole shot,
Yeah.
the complexity of the shot. But they also had to trigger the music for Barry to
In all the
dance
rooms.
to
Yeah.
in each room so there wasn't lag. And that in itself is an amazing feat. But yeah, the song is amazing. I actually grew up, um, as I mentioned, I was a chorister in Windsor,
Yeah.
and my sisters were in an amateur children's opera company called the W11 Children's Opera in West London. And Sophie Alex Baxter was the main part in all that. She kind of held the whole thing together. She was also
No
the main part. So I
way.
always heard about her. Yeah, and I wanted to be in it, but I couldn't be because I was at boarding school and I was committed to doing all this choir stuff. So
Yeah.
I couldn't like there was no way I could tell her. My older sister Alexandra was doing it. And then I was like, oh well, I'll get to do it when I'm old enough. And then it was like, and I was whisked away to boarding school, never got to do it. But it was this really fun way to make music for kids
Oh, that's
more, and I
great.
say opera, but it was more accessible. It was more like musicals, but they were
Yeah.
kind of like the Andrew Lloyd Webber model. They were sung through. Anyway, Sophie was incredible, and then suddenly, like boom, exploded with this huge career, and so awesome to like see
Wow.
this new life, this
Yeah.
track, and
Oh,
yeah, it's amazing, and it's such an it leaves you on such a high
yeah,
for the from.
absolutely. And it's kind of it's so the imagery is so cemented now with that music that I mean I don't think anybody who now has seen the film who then hears that piece of music is ever going to think about anything else apart from Barry dancing around naked. Um, and that's not it's not a bad thing, but it's kind of quite nice that it's like you say the song's got a different it's got a different life now almost because of how it's been used. It's
Absolutely.
fantastic.
It's
Yeah,
so good.
so
It's so
good.
good.
Um, oh, Anthony, thank you so much for your time. God, I can't believe that's like 40 odd minutes flown by. I really appreciate you taking time and especially all the way over there in the States. And listen, I wish you all, I'm so excited for people to actually, it's funny because I got asked to watch it again the other night. I did an intro and they were like, do you want to watch it again? I was like, well, I've seen it 3 times, but I just want to go to the cinema with my mates and watch it with like, and then come out and all talk about it. And I just think that
Yeah,
it's got such a kind of unite, that thing of like finding groups of people to go to the cinema with and having a great time and then coming out and going for a drink and talking about it. It's just that perfect kind of movie. And I know that you guys are going to be so busy over the next few months, with award stuff, and I just wish you all the success with it because it so deserves everything. It really, really does.
oh, thank you so much. And I really agree with you. I think like the films like this right now are so important for our business in that it really is about getting out. That's like it's so. I mean, I'm as guilty as of anyone. Like you can buy a big TV now for,
Yeah,
it's very affordable and it's nice to cook at home and it's like it's lovely, but like it's just a more special experience when you sit in a room and have that infectious laughter and everyone. I mean, there's that amazing moment was a reveal about Venetia,
yeah,
and it's so clever because Emerald elected. It's the one moment in the film where I think there's absolutely no sound, and so you just hear this collective gasp. It's like somebody singing along to a track and then suddenly somebody stops the music and you actually hear something that's so human and special, which is the natural everyone's natural voice. So that in that way the audience really participate in the movie.
mm,
It's
absolutely,
so good, like,
yeah.
and so yeah, the and just everyone kind of reacting together, that shared experience is such a special thing. And I
Nothing
think,
like it.
yeah, it's so great that people have had the confidence to go back to the theaters again. I was I was just learning about. Sorry, I know you probably have to go, but
No.
I was just learning about what Taylor Swift and Beyonce are doing with the theaters, and they're streaming their concerts.
Yeah,
They're not streaming. They're perform, and
they've
you go,
released
and
them.
it's
Yeah,
like, yeah, and it's just great for the. I feel so good for the theater companies because it's like, yeah, like we've got these
absolutely.
facilities. We want them to be nice and comfortable for people. We want to update them. We don't want them to be seedy and gross. But we need business.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. There was
I'm so
the,
happy for them.
yeah, and there was another one as well. The Talking Heads film, Stop Making Sense, the live film that Jonathan Demme filmed in the 80s, I think it was, and that got re-released like what, a couple of weeks ago, and it was amazing. All this footage of, like, by the end of it, everybody was just down at the front, in front of the screen, kind of like as if they were at the gig, because of the kind of narrative of the stage, of the show, of how they built the show. And if you get the chance, go and see Stop Making Sense, the Talking Heads film, in a cinema if you can. It is the most wonderful experience. You feel like you're watching them live, and they're just, it's brilliant. He comes out and he starts on his own with a little ghetto blaster, singing with the guitar, singing Psycho Killer, and then more people come on stage, more of the band, and it just grows and grows and grows, and it's just, it's joyous. It's so great.
Oh, and it's great because concerts are thriving right now. So but not everyone can make it to them.
Yeah,
It's just, why not enjoy it, but still get the shared experience. It's
yeah.
so cool.
Cinemas have got the best sound systems ever, so it's like, you're like, yeah, it's a
Yeah,
win-win.
it's definitely a win-win.
Yeah. Anthony, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to the hat trick as well of you and Emerald, and what, we haven't even had a chat about Megan and stuff as well. So maybe we can have another sit down and chat at some point, if when you're across here doing award stuff and whatnot.
Yeah, absolutely. It would be lovely to see you again in person yeah, hopefully I'll get to come back to England next
Okay,
year.
wicked. All right. Enjoy your weekend. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Edith. This was so fun.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.